Is that you, Danny? Hello, mate. Yeah. I hung the phone up because you pissed me off, and I went and got some cigarettes. So
fair enough.
There we go.
I thought something. Yeah, I thought I might have done something to upset you. I didn't mean to offend you in any way, John, at all.
Well, you won't offend the scrap metal merchants who are stupid. They'll be fine with it. The slightly smarter ones you'll offend.
Right. Okay. Right. I know where I stand with you, sir, on that one. Are you okay to carry on?
Yeah. Yes.
Talking about this. Brilliant. One thing I'd like to turn to, and this isn't really to do with digital waste tracking itself. It's more about the nature of the scrap that your customers bring in. Now, I'm sure, presumably, your plumbers know what copper is and they know what lead is and things like that. But how knowledgeable would you say your customers are in general about the nature of the scrap they bring to you?
Why do you think they're coming in and selling it to us? Do you think they're selling it to us because they don't know what it is and it doesn't have a value?
Right.
So the question you just asked me, you just said it's got nothing to do with digital waste transfer collection information. So why did you ask me then? So you're asking me, are my customers so stupid they come to a premises to sell scrap metal, they don't know what it is, what it's worth, and they don't know why they're there either? Is this what you're asking me?
Well, sort of.
That's why they don't sell it at McDonald's, buddy. That's why you don't see vans outside McDonald's trying to sell scrap metal.
Yeah, and no, the reason for asking the question is we've spoken to sort of people in different areas of scrap and waste about the nature of, I suppose, the people who bring the scrap or the waste into them, whether they actually know what it is. And there's a view that, a lot of the time they don't really know what it is. They just want to get rid of it.
You just differentiated between the word scrap and waste in that sentence. I thought scrap was waste, but you just said they were two different things.
Well, it's really, these are the words that we've heard, because there are people who see waste as something that has no value and just needs to be disposed of. And then there's people who still see scrap as something that has value. And what I'm trying to do is to really, in terms of the different areas of this industry, whether there's sort of parts of it where people are really knowledgeable about what they're doing all the way through, and that they do differ to those areas where there are sort of people who just have, something in a skip which they just want to get rid of and don't really care about they don't not necessarily care. They don't care to make the effort to find out what it is.
You're contradicting yourself, though. The very reason someone purchases a skip is to put waste inside it. Now, are they meant to be then climbing in that skip to pull it back out again? The reason people have house extensions is because they want to get rid of rubbish. Now, the biggest problem in recycling is rubbish, right? Is landfill, right? Every person on the planet knows what is worth money, right? But you can come in with 1,000 plastic bags to me and I'm going to tell you to leave, right? And you're just going to put it in landfill. So there isn't a problem in scrap metal because all the customers know it has a value. It's not waste, right? So if it's waste, so what happens when when someone takes in some, I don't know, what happens if someone buys some jewellery or pawns some jewellery? Well, is that waste? Does a pawnbroker need to give someone a waste transfer certificate when they want to come in and pawn their gold ring that is now waste to them because they don't want it?
Right, yes. Well, I suppose they call it scrap gold and scrap silver, don't they?
Yeah, but are they giving it? Are they on a digital tracking system as to where that comes from?
My understanding on that, John, is that probably not, but not for definite. Don't know. But probably not.
So the high ticket items, stolen rings, stolen Rolexes, and stolen whatever else, which is all scrap because it gets melted down and reused. So you're not tracking people that come in with thousands and one item that could be 50 grand. You want to track a plumber who comes in with 3 kilos or 30 kilos of copper that comes to 150 quid?
Well, it's more. I mean, what I know for definite is it's more the people who would have to have an upper tier carrier's license, so construction materials, rather than perhaps I don't know, the people who are on the lower tier.
So basically, you're now going to decide that a plumber or a roofer or an electrician needs to have an upper tier or lower tier permit, which they've never had to have before, and you're now comparing that with demolition and waste people who deal in thousands of tons, who really do affect the environment. So this is interesting, this conversation. So this isn't just about digital tracking. This is about you wanting to make our customers have to fill out paperwork just to be able to get rid of a tap. That's where it's going. Great. And you think that's going to be helpful? How helpful is that going to be?
Well, not necessarily, John, at the moment, because the reason for having conversations like this is to really understand, I suppose, the realities of the in your case, the scrap metal world.
No, not in my case, brother. In the people that I know and represent.
Yeah.
And you're
a part of. Yeah.
You're people who have asked these very stupid questions from DEFRA, who should know better. Honestly, buddy. So basically, we want a digital waste tracking system because you want to know where a tap came from at 12:30 on Monday the 15th. And you want all of the customers to have to register some sort of thing in order to do this, which they're not going to do. So you want to kill the business even further by using bureaucracy and making it more difficult for a simple layman just to come in and get rid of some scrap. And they're doing so. Let me ask you, what about the civic amenity sites then? So what about all the council run sites? Do they give someone a digital waste tracking system permit when they get rid of their sofa? Because that's waste. So what's going on with the civic amenity sites? They're council run.
Someone else, somebody who does the same job as me is looking at specifically, the councils at the moment.
So an old fella, and as you said about house moving and things like that, house moving companies, people that clear out my mum's house when she died last year, and they take all the furniture, give you 100 quid for it. You want to track that furniture because you want to know how much they were paid for it so you can tax them or fine them. What good to the universe is knowing where a plumber, a legitimate plumber who's provided full license, driving license, full identification, full utility bills, who provides us with a bank account? You want to know further where a plumber with H. Smith Plumbing on the side of his van has got his scrap from. Isn't that obvious? Or are you just trying to tax these people by making them have some sort of permit, which is just going to shrink and kill the business even more?
To be honest, John, I don't know the answer to that.
You're meant to know the answers. You're ringing me.
Well, yes and no. I'm asked to go out and talk with people.
But you're going to make these changes regardless. And I doubt, even though we're both recording this conversation, right? I doubt you're going to pass on any of my information because I don't agree with you. You want to kill my industry. Killing my industry stops me from paying my mortgage. Stops me from feeding my children. So, and you think that scrap metal merchants, the smaller ones like mine, are going to sit back and allow you to, what you want us to fill in a form with a customer when he comes in now, do you, for 4 quid, for 30 quid?
John, in terms of what I'm hearing in this call, it is as important as any other call I make. I'm not going to sit on this because you have a point of view.
Well, I hope not, because I've got a lot of followers on YouTube.
Okay, right, okay. But no, I mean, what I'm hearing in this conversation, this goes back with exactly the same amount of priority as anyone else.
It makes no difference. The decision will still be made. We're living in Keir Starmer's government here. In fact, this is fascism, really. So if you want to benefit the customer, we did everything we could. You got rid of cash because you blamed it on stolen scrap metal. The government blamed, even with smart water, which is rubbish. It's a good concept if people use it. So 15 years ago, you blamed cash as the reason scrap metal was being stolen. And earlier in this conversation, you gave me the same reason, because scrap metal's being stolen, to now want to implement a digital waste tracking system. Have we got any more original ideas that we can use other than the same old one? Because we don't buy stolen scrap metal. You've virtually eradicated it. But what you haven't eradicated is dodgy little scrap people in the middle of farms with no licenses who do what they like, right? Who the police are aware of. And you just want to come after the legitimate people because it's easier to get your information. Go after the dodgy ones and put them out of business, you know?
Sure. Oh, yeah. I suppose, John, if you were in my position,
yeah,
what questions would you ask rather than me?
Well, Dan, there's things customers have to do. Like I say, they have to provide identification, they have to provide a utility bill, they have to provide a bank account, a UK bank account, and if you wanted to implement anything to make yourselves actually do something positive, you should just force scrap metal merchants. Well, no, not force. A lot of scrap metal merchants write things down on paper. Now, that isn't really the legitimate way you should be doing things, because you're meant to keep records for 5 years. And those ones that write things down on paper are inclined to bring out a load of £50 notes out of their pocket and start giving people... Because this is about cash, isn't it? This isn't about where the scrap comes from. This is about the government taxing anyone they can through fines, penalties and everything else. So at the minute, with the T9 and the S2 being messed around with by DEFRA, and they simply don't know what they're talking about, because I've spoken to them, you try speaking to the same person twice in DEFRA, that'll be interesting. And if that person isn't away because they only work 2 days a week, that's interesting as well. So normally we end up spending our time talking to undergraduate students who have just qualified with a master's, who know nothing about scrap metal, and then we're going to them to ask them how to save our businesses. Because by implementing this nonsense, where you should be implementing it, basically, brother, is the big guys, maybe, the ones that are dealing in thousands and thousands of tons, but then you can't. So by making things harder for a customer to get rid of things legitimately, if this was my little statement, you're not helping with this. You are just making it more susceptible for them to go to more dodgy scrap metal people who won't ask those questions, right? So out of this, you'll be bringing up the cash again, because that's what it's all about. So there'll be more places doing illegal things with cash, offering no paperwork, no ID, no nothing. And by you taxing and coming down on the legitimate scrap metal people, you are just simply starving them of air. You're just stopping them from being able to do, the business correctly.
Yeah, sure. You said something very interesting there, John, around the big companies, the thousands of tons and so on. I suppose, if you were in charge, what would you say the threshold should be to be excluded or exempt from this digital waste tracking? What would you set that threshold at, based on your knowledge of the scrap metal world?
I think everyone should be exempt. If you want to track scrap metal, do it at the docks. Do it at the export places. Yeah? But you won't, because it's too difficult. So you're just going to shrink the business, and the rich guys will still be rich. They'll just have less people to deal with, because you'll put people like me out of business. I can't make a customer want to fill out a 3-page form, download an app, which is where you're going with it, to sell me 30 quid's worth of copper, and I don't expect them to do it either.
Yeah. Understood.
You're basically firefighting. EMR, Sims should have been doing this. I mean, we have to sign waste transfer dockets when we deliver things in because we're sort of little merchants, right? So that sort of makes sense for us because we deliver in, a couple of ton at a time, so full traceability is good, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just a piece of paper that sits in a filing cabinet for 5 years and then it's got rid of. It doesn't mean anything. The only thing you should always be careful of is stolen material and to not buy it. But if you're going to force people to then start using cash again and offering less paperwork, well, there's going to be more stolen material, I guess, because we don't buy it. Because the checks that a customer has to go through to sell us material are sort of quite stringent. And you want to add to that. You're going to anyway. It doesn't make any difference what I say.
Well, what you say, John, will be listened to. It may well be the decision is made, another way. But... May
well be. Are we going to use real words here, Danny, or what am I talking to bloody Keir Starmer here, or what? Nigel Farage, which one?
I don't control at all. And people making the decision might.
Now you're not owning it. Now you're backing away from owning it. In a minute, you'll just tell me you're just a man doing his job. Wasn't Hitler that man as well? Jeepers. Have you got any accountability at all, or are you just literally reading something off a screen?
No. My accountability is to go out and talk with folks like you, John, and to tell other people in DEFRA and the regulators exactly what we hear.
The regulators, who are they? Who are the regulators?
The Environment Agency, the Scottish Environment Protection Agency.
And what's that got to do with me? What's the Scottish Environment Agency got to do with me? Mine's Scotland.
Well, no, I know. I appreciate that. It's the Environment Agency. For you, rather than any of the other three countries within the UK. But we're looking across the whole of the UK.
Yes, because you're looking to scrape in another £1 billion a year by shrinking a business and taxing people.
With that in mind, therefore, John, what would you do if you were in my position? Well, not my position, the decision maker's position, actually. What would you do to, I suppose, achieve that goal, outcome? I don't know what you would want to call it, but the end result of sort of having better knowledge of what's happening in scrap and
that's very ambiguous. What better knowledge do I need when a plumber turns up with a sack full of copper? What knowledge do I need? Do I need to profile him then? Check his criminal record? Why is there a need for this? What knowledge do I need? They give me ID. They give me their bank details. They give me a utility bill. Yeah. I look at their demeanour. I check how they're dressed. I look at what sort of van they turn up in. So what more knowledge does the government need on a tap to know where it comes from? Do you think they're smart enough to figure that out themselves? Where a tap comes from? A brass tap? So no, this isn't needed. It's just an extra £1 billion a year that Keir Starmer wants, I don't know, to put in some hotels or something for people that are getting full up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That was pretty much everything I wanted to cover with you, John. So thank you firstly for taking the call in the first place, and then being happy to continue.
I'm guessing you've been speaking to the BMRA, haven't you? Because you've got them right in your pocket, haven't you?
I haven't spoken with. I've not spoken to any of the what would you call it, industry bodies. I've not spoken with any folks like that. They may well be talking. Sorry, I've done it again, haven't I?
Oh, they will. Whenever there's a problem, everyone goes to the BMRA for some reason.
Yeah, I'm sure there are conversations and people talking backwards and forwards. But I haven't.
You mean decisions being made, nonetheless?
Well. Yeah, I can't say anything about that because, as I said, John, I'm not party to any of that.
The only thing we have to make sure, right, as legitimate businesses, we have to make sure that the material we purchase isn't stolen. We have to make sure that the funds that get paid for that material go into a bank account, which is then taxed or whatever else by the government. So, no, you won't be getting any support from me when I'm getting a triplicate book of nonsense to have to fill out for £6 for a guy who comes in on a push bike. No, it's nonsense.
Thank you, John. And thank you for your very clear feedback on this. That's you've been
Well, you best not use it then, because we don't want clear. We don't want clear, do we, Danny?
Oh no, I want clear.
Nah, we want deception.
An absolute pleasure. It's always good to talk with people who are clear. It makes my life so much easier.
I'm sure it does, buddy. I'm sure it does.
Yeah. So I do appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, John.
Just whereabouts are you from again, buddy?
Me, where I was born?
No, you're representing. You refer to yourself as DEFRA. You're not DEFRA.
Right.
You're some company. You're some marketing company.
No, it's not a marketing company. I work with a company which develops software.
I understand. So the software company is holding hands with the DEFRA company. So DEFRA can give the contract to the software company so they can make billions of pounds. Oh, now I know where it's going. I see. You're trying to push a digital system on us, and you work for that company that does it, and you expect me
John,
to believe that you're going to tell them what I'm saying right now. God.
John, please be sure I will feed back on this. I have no interest in what comes in the future.
I know, and I do, because I've got to feed my family. But you don't. Yeah, absolutely.
No, but John, what it means is that I am an honest broker of the things that we hear in conversations.
You said you work for a software company that is, in my opinion, trying to implement digital waste tracking systems. So you're biased straight away.
I would like to think I'm not. But
how can you be? If you work for the very software company that is trying to do deals with the government right now, how can you be not biased towards that? If you work for them.
Well, yeah, I'll give you an example on that, John. I've worked with this company in the past. They have sort of not listened to what was... Sorry, they did listen to what was said in similar... Not interviews about scrap and waste. It was elsewhere. They went ahead and ultimately built an online system.
For what?
Based on everything we've heard in conversation.
About what?
People who. This is about visas coming into the UK.
Well, that's worked very well, hasn't it? They must be a very successful company. Where are they? Have they got a little hut down in Dover?
No,
I was being facetious.
No, they haven't. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
So this wonderful company that the government wants to jump into bed with, who are handling visas so very well, right? They now want to entrust them with a thing that you're going to force upon legitimate scrap metal people for them to have a digital system, which we have to pay for, or else we get fined or closed down. And you work for the very company that provides those systems. Love it.
Not as such, John, because actually with that visa system, it didn't get built. Because what we heard in sessions like,
yeah, but how much did they get paid though? How many millions did they get paid before it didn't get built of taxpers' money?
It wasn't millions, I can assure you.
I bet you can. I bet you can.
Millions.
No, I'm sure it wasn't.
I mean, if it was, if it was millions, they didn't let me know it was millions, but it wasn't. Because
so on a system that didn't go ahead, the government has now come back to you again via DEFRA to create another system after the first one failed.
No, it's not to create another system. It's to, at this point, investigate the feasibility or the impact of a digital system on people involved in...
Yes, it will shrink the business. Yeah. It will stop customers from coming in because no one wants digital ID cards. You're trying to, you will be trying to force customers to download an app. Mark my words. You know it. That's exactly what you want to do, even if you want to deny it right now. That's what you want to do.
Well, John, I'm not going to deny anything because I can't tell the future.
You said you don't care about the future. You don't care about it. That's what you just said.
Well, I don't, because my focus is on the
Tax.
now and what we're hearing in conversations like this one.
Well, I'm concerned about the future. I wish you were, but clearly you said you weren't. So, okay.
Well, no. The reason I don't care about the future is because I don't want to be biased and think, right, this is what's going to happen or this is what should happen.
Danny, you've just told me you work for the software company that creates these programs.
But they also don't create these programs as well when it turns out that...
Yes, but they still get paid whether they create them or whether they don't create them.
Yeah, but they're not being... Yeah, okay.
It just didn't run into many millions. It just ran into a couple of million, but not many million, you know, honestly. So you want to waste... The government wastes money. Honestly. You're just going to do what you want to do anyway. That's what will happen. There'll be plenty more underground, dodgy scrap metal people poking up all over the place, I would have thought.
I would prefer to think that that's not going to happen, but as I said...
Of course it will happen. It's like prohibition. Prohibition. Of course it'll happen. If you make it so difficult for a customer to sell 30 quid worth of scrap metal, one, he's either not going to bother doing it, because that's what happened when cash came in. We lost the 35% of our business. Customers just literally was saying to me, it's not worth it. That's what their words were. It's not worth it. So you now tax people because it runs through their business accounts. We can't blame stolen scrap metal anymore, but you're going to try. That's why we need to track it. Well, we don't need to track it. We do track it. The government brought in legislation that we all follow, and that was good enough, and it's been good enough for 15 years. But it's not good enough now because the government need an extra £1 billion a year.
That is I can't argue with that, John. I can't, because it's.
You mean you can't comment on that? That's what you mean.
Well, I can't comment. But secondly, I'm bound by a thing called the Civil Service Code, which means I can't show, not privilege.
Classified. It's classified. Top secret. Yeah. It would self-destruct in 5 minutes. All right. Well, look, thanks for the comment. If you need any more information, come back to me, brother.
I will do, John, and
sure.
thank you so much indeed. Again, it's been eye-opening and really helpful for me from an education perspective to talk.
Yeah, and me.
Today,
because in 2 years' time, you'll be charging me 10 grand a year for something I don't need, and my business will have shrunk because you're targeting my customers now. Thanks very much for that.
John, thank you for your time. It is, and also your thoughts and feedback. It is appreciated. Really.
No problem, Danny. You have a good day.
Okay, John. You as well. Do take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye now.
Taxation through, what do you call it?